Welcome to It's a Woman's World, where we'll meet achieving women making a difference in our community. I'm Carolyn Bruna. Our guest is Vicki DeL'Aquila, a certified professional organizer. Welcome, Vicki.
Well, thank you for having me, Carolyn.
Oh, I'm glad to have you here. I wanted to talk a little bit about your new book, which is called Don't Toss My Memories into the Trash, and also your business as a professional organizer called Organization Rules. First of all, I have to say, the title of your book really captures somebody's interest. It's amazing because the first time I read it, I went, you know, when you have so many things, maybe I'm too connected to my things, but when you have so many things and you see that title, it really hits home. It's amazing. And how did you think of the title?
Well, you know, I've been a certified professional organizer and a senior move manager for 7 years. And that is what happens in the world of downsizing and moving. A lot of times memories go in the trash. And I thought, gee, you don't really want to do that. So when I was writing my book, I thought, that's the thing you really don't want to do. You don't want to toss your memories in the trash.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And that really affects people no matter what age almost, because I know I was telling you earlier, I love organizing, and then as you do it though, you think, gee, if I throw that away, that of course will be the thing that I need, you know, so yeah, it's interesting. But your business as Organization Rules, what kind of people do you help, and tell me exactly what you do?
Well, I started my business, Organization Rules, approximately 7 years ago. We help a couple different kinds of people. We work with clients in their homes who have a lot of clutter due to usually maybe a major transition in their life, such as a death of a loved one, a divorce, maybe even facing issues such as depression. So we help them declutter and get organized in their home to simplify their lives. And we also work with people who have issues with hoarding and help them with those types of issues. And then we also work with anybody who's making a transition from moving from one home to another. Many times it's seniors who are moving from a large home to a smaller home, to a condo, to retirement communities or assisted living. So we help them with the entire downsizing process, figuring out what they will take and all the resources needed, and then unpacking and organizing on the other end. And help them get settled into their new home.
And you do focus on seniors, which I'll talk about in a minute, but it doesn't have to be for only seniors.
No, it could be anybody. I had a client who was 24 who I helped with the whole transition process, moving from the East Coast to the West Coast. So it was difficult for her, so she needed a little help.
Well, how did you get into this type of business of organizing, and what's your background?
Well, as a child, I moved a lot. So I really loved organizing as a child. I didn't know that's what it was called. I just liked to have my room flow a certain way that make it easier for me to live. And when we'd move, I'd be, first one with the box cutter. Please let me unpack and organize. And I just didn't even realize that about myself, but I always loved to organize. I have a nursing background. I'm a licensed practical nurse and worked for several years in a hospital. And I also have worked in social services. I worked as a caseworker in a nursing home, and I saw the need with seniors there to help them with downsizing. Unfortunately, in a nursing home, somebody is usually facing a healthcare crisis, such as maybe they fell and broke their hip. And then I would see, their children have to come in from either out of state or in town and take care of all these issues at one time, such as downsizing a home. So I thought, wouldn't it be nice if someone could help them years prior to a healthcare crisis?
So is that how you decided to focus? You were enticed to focus on your seniors because of working in that nursing home? And
Yes, and I saw a great need for them to need some assistance, because adult children are so busy in their lives, either working or taking care of their own children, or children who live out of state, and they can't always help their parents, or people who do not have a niece or nephew or any children. They usually need help.
Oh, true. And then even if they do have kids, like you were saying, they're from out of town and they're there for a certain small specified time and can't do everything that they'd like to do to help.
Absolutely,
and
it's very difficult
push
for
it
them.
in, then you're kind of throwing away things that you don't know if you want to keep or not, and trying to do it too hastily is not good either.
No, you don't want to toss your memories in the trash.
Right, exactly. Gosh. So is that why you decided to write your book?
I did, because people would ask me, gee, how do I start? What do I do? How do I talk to my mom about maybe thinking about downsizing? How do I downsize? So I decided to write my book by gathering stories of people I have helped. A lot of people will read the book and they'll think, wow, that sounds like me, or that sounds like my mom. So the book will resonate with a lot of people, you know, whether it's their mom, themselves, their grandmother, their aunt, their neighbor. It
So
usually
it's
resonates.
from your own experiences.
Yes.
This is funny, but I was just thinking to myself as you were speaking, your parents must have loved you because you did all their unpacking.
I did, I did. And they were not very organized people, so they thought it was great.
That's wonderful. And so then you've put your skills to work to help other people.
Yes.
And I noticed you have a workbook that accompanies the book that's called Moving Workbook. And I realize the end of your book has tips on what to bring and how to keep track of it. And so the workbook itself are actually sheets where people can write things down.
Yes, I wrote the workbook because I saw what happened is people would just have scraps of paper with their new phone number, their new address, information about utility companies, and they would lose them. So I thought, wouldn't it be nice if they just had a workbook that all this information about what they needed to move would be in there. And there's also a floor plan area, so you can measure your furniture and make a floor plan on graph paper, because that's really important when you're moving, to know what to take, what will fit, especially if you're moving from 3,000 square feet down to maybe 700 or 800. It's quite a transition, so you really need to know that. So the workbook helps keep it all in one place.
And you know, I think the baby boomer generation is into moving to some smaller places
Yes.
more for efficiency so that they can travel.
Yes.
You know, and also I think it's less stressful when you have less around you or it's more organized. I know sometimes if I have work to do, I can't even start it unless my desk is organized.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely. Being organized saves you time, saves you money. You have less stress. You're less, you know, you're not searching for things that you've lost. You're not rebuying things. You have just a lot of stress. It's less things to take care of. So it really makes a difference in your life to be organized.
yeah. I wanted to talk about what prompts the downsizing for most seniors. We covered a little bit of that. You mentioned perhaps a death in the family, or what were the other reasons?
Well, I see also with the baby boomer, the younger senior, they're really tired of taking care of the 5-bedroom, 4-bedroom, 2-story home. Their children are grown, and it's just too much house for them. And they'd rather have a smaller, more compact home that fits their lifestyle now. And so they just don't want to do the home maintenance anymore. So I see that with the younger senior. With the older senior, many times it's a healthcare issue. They live in the 2-story home, stairs are becoming too difficult to manage, they need some extra help, and it's just too much. And also peace of mind for adult children with the older senior. It's very hard to have your mom in a 2-story home and worry about her falling.
As I was reading this, I was thinking to myself too, how I never realized the importance of hiring a professional to help you, but you had so many tips in there for the seniors. I'd like to get to some of the stories too. And I like the way that you've carried stories through, because you'd start a story and a tip about a particular aspect of a family, and then you'd later on carry it through with another aspect of that family. So you kind of learned a little bit about people, which makes it interesting, and then people can relate
They
to
see
their own
themselves,
lives.
yes.
Yeah, yeah. So what tips can you give to the senior or an adult child who is starting the process of downsizing a home of several
Well,
decades?
the first thing is to give yourself some time. I get calls all the time. Sometimes I'll get calls from people, I'm going to move in 3 weeks from my 5-bedroom, 2-story home. We might be able to help you, but that's really hard. It's a very short time frame. You know, I had a client recently who had a large 4-bedroom home. Her husband had passed away. She was a younger senior. Her adult, you know, children were grown, moved out. And she said, you know what, I want to move in like 2 years, but I want to start going through my home now and start making some decisions. And it was really nice because she was able to really think about, you know, what do I want to keep? Even though she didn't know where she was going, she was able to make a lot of decisions. So time is important. Give yourself plenty of time to do this process. Get some help, whether it's a friend, a neighbor, a professional, doesn't matter, but someone to help you, because it's very emotionally overwhelming and physically overwhelming work. So
especially
help.
for a senior, it gets
Absolutely.
emotional because you've been attached just because you're using these things and you have
Absolutely.
pictures and memories.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I also like to establish a timeline. It's September now. If you know you're going to move in March, you need to start thinking about what you want to do. You know, you need to put time in your calendar to work on your house on downsizing. Start gathering resources such as, you know, maybe a mover, that sort of thing. So start establishing a timeline on your calendar. It's really important.
It actually sounds reflective on your own life, really. You know, you can think ahead now, where do I want to be in a few years? Even a senior, I think, can think that way. You know, because seniors these days are more vital and they're doing more things. And what is the, you know, the third, it's not generation, but they're talking about a third aspect of your life where you have a whole nother
life. Yes.
Yeah, really.
Absolutely, yes. You really just start focusing on it.
So now how does a person let go of some items of sentimental value, and then tell us some stories about some people who have done this?
It can be very difficult. Some people are able to do it easily and other people aren't. It's usually memorabilia and paper that I find to be the most difficult for most people. I recently just had a client who was moving from her large condo to assisted living, and we were working in her closet, and she had a large bag of greeting cards, and I said, gee, you know, what's this? And she said, you know what, those are the cards from my husband's funeral. He had passed away 15 years ago. And I said, well, you know, do you want to move these, or what should we do with them? And she just said, you know what, I'm okay for you to just take those out of here. I don't even need to look at them again. So some people are able to do that where others are not. Another thing I found to be very helpful is to use photography or take a video of something, such as a piano or an organ. Those are popular items that people have in their homes, but they cannot take them with them because of limitations on space. So a picture, taking a photograph of a person at the piano, a videotape of a story how you had the piano came to be, playing the piano. So if you keep the photograph or the video, it's a lot smaller than the piano. So that can work.
That's interesting. I never thought about that. And there's so much technology today.
Absolutely.
And then this allows you to look at it and to remember, you know, your memories, key in your memories right there.
Absolutely, absolutely. Another thing you can do is just take pieces of something. I had a client once who had a wedding gown that she stored in her basement, under the basement stairs, for about 45 years. Not a good place to store wedding gowns. And unfortunately, it had some damage done to mildew and things, and to restore it was going to be very expensive. So instead, she took a piece of the gown, the veil, other memorabilia from the wedding, the invitation, and shadow boxed it. So you have this nice memory of the wedding, but not the huge gown. So you still have that.
Yeah.
So you can do that with china. You can do that with a lot of things. You know, just take pieces of things. You don't have to keep the whole large item.
And I guess that's the beauty of having, or the advantage of having, a professional to give you some tips on that, really, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Because these are things that you don't usually think of your own, or at least you can pick up a book and look it up, or you can look things up
and a
on
lot
the
of times
web
the thing with a
get tips.
professional is we're objective. We don't know the history of the china. We don't know why that cup might mean something to you. So we're a little bit more objective about things.
So you can help somebody through if
Yes.
they need it. And it has pros and cons, though, too.
It does. It
Yeah,
does.
yeah,
It does.
yeah.
Definitely.
Well, we're going to come back in a minute and talk more about maybe some stories that you can
Okay.
tell us about
Sure.
seniors moving. We'll return after this short special announcement. Welcome back to It's a Woman's World. We're speaking with Vicki DeLaquila, a certified professional organizer. Vicki, I noticed in your book, Don't Toss My Memories in the Trash, a quote by William Morris, and it says, "Have nothing in your homes that you do not know to be useful and believe to be beautiful." It's a lovely quote. Tell me about that, and why did you put it in here?
I believe it's true. You really should have only things that you use and that you really love to be in your home. He actually wrote that quote somewhere around the turn of the century, and it was used in Good Housekeeping magazine years ago. I think it's a wonderful quote because I think it's so true. You really need to think about the real estate space in your home. Do you want to have things that you don't use? Do you want to have things that you don't like? A lot of people inherit things that they do not like and they have them in their home. But my Aunt Martha gave me that, so I need to keep it. You actually don't need to keep it. You can let it move on to someone else who will enjoy it.
Yeah, that's true. You do. I felt that a lot growing up about things that some family relatives would give me, and I think, oh, well, I have to keep this, but I didn't necessarily like it. So my mom was very good that way, though. She'd say, no, she was very good about throwing things out and cleaning out, and I think keeping herself more organized and less stressed than I actually, because of that whole personality.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Someone
yeah.
else will enjoy your things. There's going to be
That's
someone
true.
else in the world that's going to enjoy the vase that you don't really like that Aunt Martha gave you. Someone else will get a lot of joy from it. So let it move on. Let it move on.
And that reminds me, too, of a few things I was reading here. A couple of times you said some seniors were moving to retirement communities, independent or assisted, didn't matter which, but they were hesitant about leaving collections. And a few of the times, was it an art collection one time, and a collection of, I'd forgotten, maybe it was particular pottery or something, and there was a musician who brought something, and you said the actual communities put these up in their libraries or showpieces. Tell us about that.
I had a client once who was moving from one state to another, and he was an artist, and he had many paintings, and he loved them, and they were not going to fit into his home, his new apartment. So he didn't have the room, but the community said, you know what, why don't we have a showing? Why don't we put up your paintings? We'll have a showing. And it was wonderful because everybody loved it. His paintings were on display, and they stayed on display. And so he was able to go to the main section of the community and see his artwork and let everybody else enjoy it. It was thrilling for him, and it was wonderful. And it was added to the community and added to his life and greatly enhanced it.
And the community had a celebrity artist in their midst, and so I'm sure they were happy about that, and he liked that
absolutely.
attention.
Yeah, I had another client also that had a lot of seasonal decorations that she couldn't keep, but the community said, you know what, maybe we can use them. And it was Halloween. That was her big holiday.
That was my mom's biggest.
Was
She
it?
loved
Okay.
that. Yes.
And so they were able to bring them in. You know, they said, you know what, we'll store them as long as we can use them in the community during Halloween. And she was thrilled because it was just like decorating her house, but much larger, because they were able to use all her decorations in the community for Halloween.
Yeah, and that's not something you would think of
No.
or realize that could happen. So these are showing,
These are
possibilities.
definitely possibilities for some people,
Yeah,
definitely.
I love those ideas somehow. I wanted to talk about convincing a senior who needs to downsize and move. How do they start this process?
It can be very difficult if they're not, they don't want to, they're not willing to do it. I always suggest it's just going to be a time thing. Start talking to them about, there could be a health issue in the future, and so this, you may not be able to stay in your home forever, or you may not be able to afford to have someone come in. So maybe we should start visiting some retirement communities, some senior apartments, that a lot of seniors live in, or just a regular apartment building that, you might just like. So start visiting them, talk about it, and just talk about, don't you want to make your own decisions? I had a gentleman once when I was speaking at a retirement community. He just got up and he said, I'm in my 70s, I'm a younger person, but you know what, I'm so glad I did this because I had this huge house and I don't have any children, and what am I going to do? Live there and let someone else take care of this later on in my life? I'm so glad I made the decision to do this now. And that gentleman passed away 2 weeks after that. So he was very happy. He made his own decisions about his own items, what he wanted to happen to them.
Yeah, that sentence really resonated with me. And I think with most women, they say the thing that they are afraid of most is being not able to make their own decisions and being less independent.
Absolutely.
And so this way, you can make your decisions and find out what you want to do.
What you want to do. Do you want to, give things to your children? Did you love theater and you want to give some things, maybe some old hats that could go to a community theater, and you'll get to see them on stage maybe eventually, or an old radio if they're doing a show from the 50s. Those sorts of things. So if that's important to you, that's really nice that you can make decisions about that.
And you feel independent, you feel good about yourself as well.
You do.
Yeah.
You do.
But there are many people, I'm sorry to say, but it's just true, many people who don't want to breach this subject at all.
Very true.
Yeah,
Very true.
Yeah.
And it is difficult. It's a
I think
difficult
you have to
subject.
wait till someone is ready. Maybe you can entice them a little bit by bringing it up. A child of an elderly parent could bring it up and then let it go. You can't force something like that
Oh,
because it's
no.
not good.
No,
for either.
forcing doesn't work.
Yeah,
Yeah, you
right.
just have to, it takes time, and just talking about it as, this is something that's going to work. About a year ago, I was on a radio show in Omaha, and a woman called in, and she said, my daughter gave me this book, and I didn't want to think about it, I didn't want to read it. She said, you know what, I did, and I'm really glad I did, because it got me thinking about, maybe I should start thinking about some things to do with my items in my home, and my home in general. What should I do? So she was really glad. But it took a while, just thinking about it.
It does. Well, how do you say goodbye to a home of several decades? You've been there most of your life. You've raised your children there. How do you say goodbye?
It certainly can be difficult. I always tell people, you're starting another new chapter of your life in a new place, probably going to gain some new friends, still have your old friends, but it's going to be a new world, and that's a good thing. So look at that as a positive experience. But also, take some pictures of your home. Maybe your children, maybe you had markings in the door frame of when they're growing up, measuring them. Take a picture of that. Maybe even take that wood if the new owner will let you take that if you really want to keep it. The photograph could work just as well. Or maybe take some tulip bulbs from the yard even that you had planted years ago. I'm sure it'd be okay. Take a few things like that from your home. Just take little teeny pieces and photographs, but you still have the memories, because it's really a home. It's a house that you raised your family in, but it's really the memories that you're taking with you.
Right, and I guess it's learning to disassociate the memories with the physical home.
Yes.
As far as, or the physical house rather than the home, I guess. Home
Yes.
means more.
Because your new home is going to be a new place. It's where you are. Home is where you are and where your heart is.
True.
But you always keep your memories. Always.
Yeah, yeah. And where can seniors and their families help to find the information on the downsizing and find help on this relocation process?
Well, first of all, there are national organizations around the country. One is called NASM, the National Association of Senior Move Managers.
Oh, I hadn't realized that there were national organizations on this.
If you go to their website, which I believe is NASM.com, you can put in your state and find someone who is a professional to help you, or NAPO. .net, which is the National Association of Professional Organizers, and put in your state, and they can help you find someone. Also through my website, Organization Rules, I can certainly lead someone the right direction they need to go. Or through Department of Aging, sometimes they have information on people who can help you, or volunteer organizations that might be able to help you, such as churches, on downsizing.
I hadn't realized it's such an organized organization, but that's relatively recent, isn't it?
It is. NAPO's been around, the professional organizer, about 20 years, and NASM's been around, the Senior Move Managers, approximately 10 years.
It has been 10 years.
So it has been a growing industry, because a lot of adult children are just too busy to help their parents, or out of state, so, and people do need help.
People do need help, yeah. We talked a bit about the differences in downsizing and seniors at different ages. Should we mention that again? Seniors at 60, seniors at 70, seniors at 80. What differences there do you notice as far as downsizing?
I find that the younger senior is usually very happy to downsize and move on, because they really want to give up all that home maintenance. So they're thinking, you know what, I'm happy to give up stuff because it's less work that I have to do. And I can, give it to my kids, or whatever I'm going to do with it. It just is easier for me. So they're usually pretty happy about it. The older senior, usually over 85, I have found, they're usually reluctant, and they usually don't want to move. And it's usually that healthcare crisis that can send them into moving. So it can be much more difficult. It's emotional for the younger senior, but it seems to be even more so for the older senior, because it's usually in a short period of time. And it can be very difficult for them.
And you're not feeling as well if you're in a health crisis.
Absolutely.
And so then it's much more difficult and strenuous.
Absolutely. And a lot of times, people may have a cane or a walker at that point. And when we work with them, we always suggest, if their daughter's going to work with them too, have them sit, and you bring things to them to make decisions about, because they really, because it is overwhelming, physically and emotionally. Making decision after decision after decision is draining about what you want to keep. It really is, can be difficult.
And the new thing, well, that again is probably at least 10 or more years, but feng shui. So many people are interested in that. And in a sense, if you look at it, it's almost a downsizing or a straightening out or a cleaning out, or a less stressful way of organizing your house, which is related to the downsizing,
Absolutely.
isn't it?
Absolutely, because clutter really, it can clog your mind because you're always thinking about, oh boy, I really need to do something with that pile of papers, that pile of books. And it's a real clogger, so, you know, a real stressful event, having to look at it, causing you stress, what am I going to do? So clearing the clutter really can help you quite a bit, whether you stay in your home and you know, have a lot of things, or you are going to downsize and move. Just clearing the clutter is really a good thing.
That's a good point. You don't have to leave your home to clear your clutter.
Absolutely
Right.
not. I know many people who are staying in their home, decide to age in place, but they have a lot of clutter that they need to really clear out. So they work on that and clearing that clutter out of their
And
home.
that's another new term, aging in place.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. Just to modify your home so you can stay in your home and age in place as you need to.
With the different things that you want, that you find
Absolutely.
useful and beautiful.
Absolutely, absolutely. And making modifications to your home if you need them, such as a wheelchair ramp or handrails.
Yeah. And you mentioned your website. Why don't you say again how people can get in touch with you?
They can get in touch with me through my website, www.organizationrules.com.
And you'll give them tips on helping them find somebody, maybe
Absolutely.
through not necessarily yourself, but it could be, or it could be through their own organizations, through their churches, through their synagogues, through their whatever
Sure,
type
should
thing
put
like
them
that.
in the right direction they need to
Right.
go.
Great. Okay, thank you. I hope you've enjoyed meeting our guest, Vicki DeL'Aquila, as much as I have, and you're inspired by her passions. If you know a woman whose winning ways are contributing to our community, please email us. We are Woman's World TV at AOL.com. Remember, it's a woman's world. Keep on winning.